First of all, I haven't had a chance to see these guys all as a group when they weren't in front of the camera upstairs with CBS and or stuffing their faces with pizza and cheeseburgers upstairs. But congratulations to our players. Very proud of what they've accomplished. If you would have reflected back to January 15th, I'm not sure we would have all said this day was going to be possible or attainable. But for how far they've come in the past 2 months is an extreme credit to them. How they've grown together, as you've heard me talk about several times. So for the program to be able to make its 18th consecutive appearance in this tournament, and for these guys, I don't know if there's another team in this field of the 68 that's had a more turbulent ride, since we had a very turbulent ride back from Indianapolis on Friday. It was a little rocky of a plane ride. This group has overcome a lot, and very proud of them and excited to keep on playing.
Take questions for Coach or either of the players. We have just one microphone, so.
There's an extra one right here.
John.
For Coach, I know a lot of people had you in, but nothing's guaranteed unless you get that automatic bid. Was there any anxiety before your name was announced?
No, I thought we had done enough in terms of what we had done in the league play and who had played in the non-conference, that our strength of schedule was extremely high, and that we had finished very well. And obviously, as much as you try not to dwell, I've never made too big a deal of the wins that we've had, and I've talked about that, trying to stay very even-keeled. And I'm also not going to make too big a deal of any bumps that we take. So I wasn't going to overreact too much on Thursday's game, just like I don't overreact or underreact on any other, our wins at Maryland or Iowa or here, the ones we've had here at the Kohl Center. So I've tried to keep everything in perspective and trusted that we had done enough and these guys had done enough to put themselves in good position. Obviously, seeding was going to be something that was going to fluctuate. And sometimes you move based on where they're going to send you. Sometimes you're locked into a position. I think what happened in other conference tournaments maybe affected it to some extent. But obviously to have a 7 seed and then playing against a very good team, a team that plays a lot like we play in terms of blue collar and tough and man-to-man, and will really come after you in what Coach Dixon's teams are like over the years. That'll be a huge challenge for us on Friday.
Gary.
This is for a coach and either or both of the players, if they care to answer. Obviously, last year, Coach, expectations were really high going into the tournament. How are they different this year? Obviously, from outside the program, they might be a little different. How are they different inside the locker room, inside the team?
I don't think they're any different. I think you always expect and prepare to have success, and you take that as far as you can possibly take it. So, and we've never tried to compare one year to the other. Every year is in itself, is in and of itself, and we just try to do the best in the position we're in. This group has created their own identity. Like I said, it's so our expectations will be to prepare really well this week and play well on Friday.
For the difference, last year we wanted to win national championship, and we believe we could. This year we want to win the national championship, and we believe we can. The only difference is people like you thought last year we could, and this year you don't. So other than that, we could care less. We couldn't care less. Again, it's always been we're worried about us and what we're doing in the tournament. We got to take it one game at a time, and we believe in ourselves, and we play as hard as we can. Good things usually happen.
Jeff.
For Nigel and Bronson, I don't know if you heard your coach say that he tried not to overreact to the Nebraska loss, just as he doesn't overreact to victories. We didn't get a chance to talk to you two guys or some of the other guys after the Nebraska game. What was your mood initially after that performance, and how has it changed since then?
We were pretty disappointed in the way we performed, and not exactly how bad we played. It's just that we got outplayed, and that Nebraska beat us every loose ball, rebounds, and they just played tougher than us, and that's kind of what's been our identity the past couple of months. And for us to come out like that against Nebraska, a team we feel like we should have beaten, we were just pretty disappointed.
Along those lines, does that loss to the players give you a little bit more of a chip on your shoulder? Or do you guys not need a chip on your shoulder?
I'm done answering questions today. That's it for me. That's all you. I wasn't really paying attention to the question. That's all you.
Can you repeat that?
Do you guys need a chip? Does that loss give you a chip on your shoulder? Do you need a chip on your shoulder going into this tournament?
I don't really think it gives us a chip on our shoulder. I mean, hopefully we can have some positive takeaways from that game and learn some things. And we just know that we can't ever, let any team, for that matter, play harder than us. Because we can lose to anyone, we could also beat anyone in the country. So, yeah.
Jeff?
Nigel, if you wouldn't mind answering that
I
question.
forgot.
That Coach Gard said he didn't try to overreact to the Nebraska loss.
I was terrified. I thought he was going to come after me after that loss. Yeah, I was petrified. The way he was upset, we had to talk to him with like a 10-foot pole. The way he was so irate. No, seriously though, it was.
You're right. I was irate.
He was. I think he's done.
But we moved past it.
He's done a great job of, as I always try to say to you guys, of never get too high, never get too low. When we we went and beat Maryland, he didn't think we were untouchable and we never needed to practice anymore. And when we lose in Nebraska, he doesn't think we're the worst team ever and he'd rather coach somewhere else. So we, after watching the film, there were many points in the game where if we don't do as he likes to say, boneheaded plays, we take the lead, tie the game, or we go on to win the game. So, and that was all attributed to our effort. So we know that that's something that we can, especially, it's tournament time. So we can never let a team outplay us, outwork us, play harder than us, beat us to any loose ball, any rebound, et cetera, et cetera. And if we go in there with that mindset, I think we'll be fine.
Jim?
Greg, typically you would kind of dive headfirst into the first round opponent. What changes for you now that you're in a different role?
Probably nothing. I'll still dive headfirst into Pittsburgh, and Coach Close will take Pittsburgh. Coach Paris will take Xavier, and then Coach Moore will take Weber State. Just of how it is aligned. Coach Close has had Pittsburgh in the past, and Lamont had Xavier last year when they were in the West with us. So I'll obviously have to focus more on us, but I'll definitely do my due diligence with Pittsburgh as well.
Greg, did you give these guys off this weekend? Did you encourage them to get off the court, or what? How did you handle that?
We flew back Friday morning. I mean, they took the rest of the day off on Friday. We did not practice on Friday, and then we came in yesterday and watched the film clips that I had pulled out from Thursday night's game and went through those. And then we practiced for about an hour yesterday, and a lot of shooting, a few defensive things that we reminded each other of. And regardless of who we were going to play, we have to take another step forward defensively. But again, I just tried to, for as out of sync as we were Thursday night, there was still a multitude of opportunities for us, even within the last minute and a half, where we had chances to close it even tighter and, being within 3, 2, if we complete play. So again, I try not to make too much of something when it doesn't go well, and I try not to overreact or, oversimplify things when they go well, and try to find that happy medium. So they understand that. When I say something about we got to do this better, got to do that better, we didn't play up to our capabilities or our potential, I'm not the first one they've heard it from. They know it. They all are smart enough. They're good enough players. They have enough experience. Specifically, these two guys up here, they know. And they understand. They have high expectations of themselves. So it just took some friendly reminders, and showing it on film, I think, helped in some regards. And now we take a step forward.
Do you see any value to a light weekend leading into this final push? I mean, is there?
Well, you can analyze that 100 different ways. If you get knocked out of your conference tournament early, everybody says, oh, you're going to have rest. If you go play deep in your conference tournament and you don't win it, oh, you're going to have fatigue legs and you have nothing to show for it. If you win your conference tournament, oh, you played for a higher seeding. So, I think you can analyze it 100 different ways. And, if somebody played deep into today and they get knocked out early next week, they'll say, well, they were fatigued from playing too deep into the weekend. And, if somebody plays well into next week and they got knocked out Thursday or Friday in their conference tournament, oh, they were fresh. So, or if they played well, they play well next weekend and they won through this weekend, hey, they had momentum going. So, we just try not to, like I said, make too much of what's happened in the past. Understand we got to be very good for 40 minutes on Friday. That's what we'll focus on.
Zach.
Greg, how much have you watched Pittsburgh this year, and how much stock do you put into common opponents? You guys both played Syracuse, both played Purdue.
I haven't watched them a whole lot. I saw them about a week and a half ago, I think, against Duke. Just happened to be home on whatever afternoon. I think they were playing them on a Sunday, if I remember right. But just watched them a little bit then, and they were handing it to Duke at that point in time. So I haven't seen them a whole lot. Did not watch in our preparation for Purdue, did not watch the Pitt game because it was earlier. And obviously Syracuse was after us. So we'll look at that, though. I mean, maybe a little bit at Syracuse just because they're, a common opponent, but also they're consistently sitting in the zone. So some things you can draw parallels from. That's one that you probably can't too much.
Greg, parity seems to be a big thing in college basketball this year. No Kentucky or Duke or even Wisconsin this year. Do you see that? Do you see it that way? And is that in some way encouraging to you guys? That you've played a lot of these teams and
Right.
beaten some of the higher seeds.
Right. Yeah, I think there is a lot of parity. Obviously, you've got 4 or 5 that I think are playing really well right now, and the 4 number ones, plus Michigan State, I think are, in my mind, and I thought the 2 today. I mean, Purdue and Michigan State, in our lap through the league, seeing them up close. Now, obviously, we didn't see everybody twice, but seeing them up close, I thought when everybody was playing at their best, they were the best 2 in the league, and that showed true through this weekend too. So I think Michigan State's playing very well, even though they're not on the one line. You're 1 or 2. You're going to have to play very good teams as you go through the tournament as you advance on anyway. So, but I think there hasn't been a dominating, for sure, top 2 or 3 teams all year that have held on to that spot. But I think there's an obvious 3 or 4 or 5 that are playing pretty well right now.
Zach.
When you guys were sitting in there waiting to be announced, did you know that a bracket had leaked, and did you guys know already who you were playing before it was showing up on CBS?
Yeah.
Jeff.
Greg,
Yes.
we talked to you obviously after the game, and I'm just curious, and as you looked at the tape and kind of went over what went wrong that night, what was the most troubling part to you about that performance? Was it the effort that the guys alluded to, or was it execution, or what?
Well, I think anytime the ball doesn't go in the basket, it's always the effort label is thrown on it. We had several, we run, as we compared it to the team yesterday, we ran the exact same calls, some of the exact same plays, the exact same spots on the floor we had the ball against Maryland on the road, the number 2 team in the country. The ball goes in the basket. Okay, you run the same thing. 2 weeks later, the ball doesn't go in. All of a sudden, the effort wasn't there. But it wasn't that in terms of the ball, the effort in terms of the ball not going in or not. There were some things in terms of a loose ball that I thought they set the tone too early. A couple things where they forced jump balls where they were more aggressive to it than what we were. They did to us what we did to Maryland in terms of the personality they played with. So, and we, for the most part, through the 3 months that I've been in this position, have played with that personality. Not all the time, but I thought it was an advantage. I knew going in, I felt that it was an advantage for Nebraska having played the day before. And I thought it was an advantage for Illinois. I thought it was an advantage for Michigan, just because when all else is equal, you have a comfort level, and obviously having Shields back helped them. I think it gave them a little bit of swagger and a confidence, and we didn't answer that and meet that as well as we needed to for as long a period of time. We did it in spurts. We made little runs here or there, but we had opportunities that we left 34 points on the rim in the paint, 18 in one half, and I think 16 in another, based on the shot chart that I looked at. So we had opportunities. You still got to convert those, and there's been, for the most part, we've done that through the course of the last 3 months. But we'll, like I said, I don't want to make it too big of a deal, because I don't do it when we do it really well, and I don't want to also overreact. We have to learn from it, flush it, and move on, and get ready for what's next.
Jim?
Nigel or Bronson, I don't know how much other outside the Big Ten basketball you watched. Has either one of you seen Pittsburgh? Do you have any early impressions?
I haven't seen them play. I think I saw them play one time against Syracuse, and like Coach was saying, that's against his own. So, yeah, I don't really know too much about them, to be honest.
I watched as Coach Gar said, the Duke game. Again, I don't know how indicative that is of them as a team overall. They were winning that game pretty handily, so that could have been, a great shooting performance by them. Who knows if that's consistent with the season or not, but from the look of that game, they were playing extremely well, obviously, and they went on to win that game pretty easily.
Zach?
Nigel and Bronson, along these same lines, how much in these tournament games do you concern yourself with what the opponent does and getting into the scouting report as opposed to just focusing on what you as a team and as individual players need to do?
I think, again, I'm not a coach down there, but in my opinion, when you get to the tournament, it doesn't really matter what you do. There's no, we're not going to add any plays or we're not going to try any new schemes. It's just a matter of the will and want by the players. I mean, when it gets boiled down to it, that's why you have those upsets that you have, because the lower seed usually just goes out and wants the win more, and they do the things like we talked about that made us lose in Nebraska, just the little things, the hustle plays. So there's not much of a schematic change. It's just more of the players coming down to the will and want to win, and that's why Coach Gard always tells us March is the Players' Month.
John?
Yeah, for Nigel, going back to January, was there ever any doubt that this day would come that crept in your mind?
Doubt as to us making the tournament?
Correct. Yeah.
No, of course not, no. As I told you guys again for last couple months, couple weeks, all season, that I believed in the guys and I knew that we'd be a good team. I told you the guys there'd be growing pains. There were definitely growing pains. First night, first game of the year, growing pains. And once we got over that hump, we started gelling together. Guys got the experience that they needed, that we knew they would need in order to perform well, and things started to take care of themselves, and here we are.
For the players, what was the reaction, when you either saw the league bracket or when you saw it on, what was the reaction when you saw Pittsburgh just let's go out and play?
Pretty much, yeah. We were excited to kind of get back out there, and especially after losing the past two games, we're just excited to get out there and start playing again, really.
I was a little upset we weren't on the West again. The West has been pretty good to us, at least my first 2 years. Get some sun, the beach. LA was nice. Yeah.
St. Louis is nice too. See the arch.
I've been there
Been to St.
twice,
Louis?
but I don't. It's not the West. It's not LA.
Gateway to the West, right?
They won't have Kobe's locker won't be there, so I don't know what I'll do there. So, yeah, about that.
Earl?
I guess this is for Nigel and Bronson. I heard you guys talking about kind of the progression that you guys have taken during this season, but I'm curious as to the last couple of years. Do you guys see this team, or do you see? I guess, is there a way for a team to progress like during the tournament? Is that something that you guys have experienced, kind of have seen the last couple of years? And does this team have the capability of even, kind of stepping it up a little? I know you kind of hate those sportsy terms, but I mean, when it comes to tournament time, it's like the pressure's on. So do you kind of see this team potentially, growing even more during the tournament?
Going first.
Most definitely, especially, since we're so young. And Coach has done a great job of implementing some of the younger guys in the lineup and giving them some good experience. And I'm sure guys are going to step up for us big in the tournament. So I can definitely see us. I mean, we haven't played our best basketball yet either. So now would be a great time for us to, start playing up to our potential.
Yeah, he's right. We haven't, as Coach Gard always tells us, we haven't played our best game yet. Again, he said our closest was Maryland. That was a pretty solid performance by us. But going off your question, the first 2 years here, we've always seemed to get a little better. That could have been attributed to the older guys we have. So Bronson and I are now in those shoes where we have to pick up our efforts the same way. I saw Frank pick up his effort and Trey pick up his and Ben when they were here, and I was the younger guy looking at them. So if we are able to do that and play with that emotion, toughness, the leave it all on the court effort, the other guys will definitely come along.